Welcome to the Excel Executive. Today we will be talking about cell referencing. So there are two types of referencing, relative and fixed. But before that, what am I talking about? So these boxes that you see, these are referred as cells in Excel. So whenever you are on a cell, its position on the sheet is shown here. So we have columns A, B, C, all alphabets, and on the rows we have numbers. So 1, 2, 3. So if I go to the first one, it's going to say that we are on A1. If I click here, we are on D12. So it's on the column D on the 12th row. That's the first thing. So that is how you refer a cell in Excel. Now, there are two types of referencing. First is called the relative referencing, which is what you see normally. Then there is another type, which is the fixed referencing. This is required when you have to fix a cell in a formula. So for that, you have to apply these steps, these dollar marks at the start of the column name and at the start of the row name. Now, there are some times when you have to fix only the column or only the row. In that case, you will remove the sign which you want to be relative. So if it's $sign A1, that means that column A is fixed, but the row is going to change when you move the formula down. Now let me show you what I'm talking about. So let's say this is a table. Now first of all, is that a table or a range? Now if you have seen my last video, you know that this is basically a range. Anyways, so we will use the range as it is right now. So we have some transactions happening. So transaction 1 is for $12, the second one is for 23, so on and so forth. Now we want to convert that into pound sterling. So this is the rate. Now this is not an actual rate. I haven't checked the website. I'm just assuming it's 1.2 times, as compared to for a £1 you get $1.2 basically. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to multiply these two cells. So I take this cell. So as you can see, it is referring it as J6. So it's column J, row 6. Very simple stuff. Then I multiply that with the pound rate, which is in the cell N5. I press enter and you get the answer, 14.4. Now if I want to continue it, I can just click this bit and drag down. And you'll see that it's not going to work. So it doesn't work. So what's happening? I click it, it's fine, it's working. I go to the next one, whoops. This cell is fine, but it moved one step down. And in the third one, the same thing happened. So in these cases, we want to fix this one cell here. So for that, I'm going to use this referencing. So in the formula, I'm going to go in, and for N and 5, I'm going to put the $sign here. So an easy way to do it is just to use the F4 key on your keyboard. So I'm going to push it, and I will have it now fixed. I press enter. This was correct before, this is correct now, but now when I move down, it's going to work perfectly because these cells are moving, but this one is fixed. Okay. Now let me show you how this works in a table. But first, let me show you how this works in a range, then we'll move to the table. So in a range, now as you can see that this is from our last video, and it is still a table, as you can see from right here. So if you want to convert it into a range, you can just search it for convert to range, and then if you say yes, it will be converted into a range. So the appearance stays the same, but as you can see that now that table contextual tab is not visible there. That is something. Anyways, so what I'm going to do right now is that I'm just going to use the same formula, equal to price. So it's C2 multiplied by quantity. I'm going to press enter and it's going to calculate it. Now here we don't need to fix it, so I'm just going to move it down and it's going to calculate each and everything. Now, like I said, that anytime you see a range, the first thing you're supposed to do is that you're supposed to turn it into a table. So in tables, the referencing happens a bit differently. So let me show you what I mean. So first, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to convert it into a table again. I'm going to go to the Home tab. I'm going to format it as a table. Select it. It's going to tell me the range. My table has headers. I'm going to say OK. Now, when I did this before, it said that it is multiplying C2, this cell, with D2. But now what I'm going to do is it's going to show me the name of the column. So when I go here, it says that I'm going to take the amount from the price column. I put the multiply sign, and then I put the other column. And when I press enter, it's going to give me the answer for all the rows in the table. This is the best practice. This is what you're supposed to do. Now, if this is the best practice, then why was I telling you about these referencing? The problem is that anytime you receive a sheet, an Excel file from a colleague in the office or in your university, you will see people not using tables ever. So, and there might be calculations in it. So every time you see that, the first thing you're supposed to do is that you're supposed to turn it into a table. But before you turn it into a table, check if there are any columns in which there are any calculations so that you can do them correctly once you convert it into a table. So again, you should understand how relative referencing and fixed referencing works. And anytime you receive a table, a file from anybody else, you analyze it first, and then after correcting any mistakes or looking at any columns which have any calculations in them, you check them and then you convert it into a table so that you don't have any problems in the future. So let me try that as well in this case. So I'm just going to remove this as well again, and I'm going to convert it into a range again. Now it's not a table anymore. And I'm going to do the same exact calculation again. It's C2 multiply by D2, enter. It's the same result. I drag it down. It's calculated, right? Now, after the calculation, I'm going to convert it into a table. Go here, format as table, click OK. And now if I check the formula, it's still the same. And this is not a best practice. You will have problems in the future if you just use it like this. So again, you see that, okay, what happens here? Check the first row, it's C2 into D2. Next one should be C3 into D3. Next one should be C4 into D4. Check a couple of cells, and once you know what the formula is, you go there, and then you use a proper formula. So it's multiply, quantity, enter. In this way, any person who looks at the table can tell that in this column, you are multiplying price by quantity. Now you might think, tomato, tomato, what's the difference? You can use cell referencing, you can use this price into quantity column, but trust me, in the future, if you do this thing, if you make it a best practice, every time you make a sheet, you create a table first and then you put in the values. Or if you receive a sheet from somebody else, you first convert it into a table, the way I taught you here, and then continue with your analysis. This will help you in the long run. Hope this helps. Please do all the good things, like, subscribe, comment, and share. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.